Hey guys, so I've been thinking of different video ideas, and I thought a good idea for a video would probably be to do a Vyse tier list on all of the maps in the game. Let's get started with the first map that I think is really solid for Vyse, and I honestly think Abyss is an S tier map for Vyse. On Abyss, you have a pretty good arsenal of setups that you can do on Vyse. For example, you can play backside on Vyse with a wall and main, and have your flash kind of up here on this box, and you can get a lot of value from just holding this choke for a while. You can also do a couple of creative walls on A Abyss, with this one coming across, and you have your flash over here to flash them, and then you can like separate the 1v1s or whatever. Or you can do a wall like this and then have your flash over here or over here, and you can play off this. But a couple of other walls that you can do that are actually kind of fun is that there is this wall that right here that you can use that can actually shove the people off if they trip this while they're on the bridge, which I think is kind of funny, but it's not really practical, but it's kind of funny. There's a lot of creative setups you can also do on B as well. You can place your arc rose on top of this heaven choke point and play back sight, or I like to play on this ledge sometimes. And you can just put your wall right here and kind of play off your flash like that. Or you can put your wall on the other side, so if they try to follow up by like jumping across this thing, they'll get walled off if they're trying to follow a teammate through, which is pretty funny. Also, let's not forget that ults on Abyss on attack and defense are not bad. Like on attack, you can like walk up here and do your ult right here. That's pretty solid. On A, it's really good if you can get to this main choke and kind of jump out a little bit. You can get the whole site that way. On defense, your ults are really good. Like being able to ult like right here, and that gets all this. Like they'll have to be pushed all the way back here, or you're gonna have to they're gonna have to somehow fight you without guns. On A, it's also really solid, just being able to get into this heaven choke. So yeah, there's a lot of creative freedom that you have with Vyse on Abyss that I think it's worthy enough to be given the S tier map, because not only creativity, but there are not very many chokes on Abyss that you need to defend as a defender. So yeah, I think that warrants Vyse getting an S tier. Okay, so for Vyse's next map, I'm gonna put Ascent in the A tier. Ascent's actually a pretty solid map for Vyse as well, just not as good as Abyss, but it's still a really good map. So a wall like this on A, or yeah, any variation of this wall, or a wall maybe like this, kind of outside the choke point a little bit, or I like to do a wall in lane right here, cut off by the thing, and then catch them off guard with a flash, kind of playing over here and peek them like that. Or, I can play it a little deeper on site. I can play Boathouse, put my wall like this, and then when they come out, I can just swing them like this with the flash back here, and I'll get that free pick. Or, there's a lot of freedom here where you can put your wall like this, play your flash right here, and put a thorn in this kind of area, and then you can like play off your flash here. There's just so many creative, you have so many creative setups that you can do on Ascent, on B side especially. On A side, you're a little bit more limited, I would say, but it's not bad either. Like you can put your wall, I think you can put your wall here on Gen.
Yeah, an overall solid map for Vyse.
Alright, so the next map we have here is Bind, and I actually think people overrate Vyse on Bind. So why do I think this is a B tier map and not like an A or S tier map for Vyse? Well, as you can see, a lot of your setups are kind of dependent on holding one choke point super effectively. Now, I haven't mentioned a lot the razor vines that you can do, which are actually very helpful on holding these secondary choke points. Like for example, I like to put one right on the ledge of hookah, and if they start running in hookah, I can just pop that for like 10 seconds, and that's like 10 seconds I can just like hold that choke for my team to rotate, hold it for me, and then of course I can get this kill on B long. But the issue with Vyse is that she isn't super effective on like holding down a site like maybe you could with Cypher or Killjoy, where you can kind of just like leave your setup there, and then like if you hear them pushing, then you can get your team to rotate, blah blah blah. Like if they're walking on bind and they're walking up to your site, you pretty much get countered. But she's not bad at all either. I don't think she's bad, and I don't think she's troll on bind. You can definitely play Vyse on bind and get serious amounts of value. but I don't think that she's S or A tier. Alright, so for the next map we're going to be breaking is Breeze. And honestly, this is just no. You don't play Vyse on Breeze. Fracture. Fracture's like my favorite map in the game. So it's gonna pain me to say that you should just use Killjoy on Fracture. There's a couple of creative things that you can do on Vyse, don't get me wrong. She's not awful. Or you can do maybe a wall like this, put maybe a flash here, and then jump up off it on drop. Or, you know, if they come main, you can kind of wall right here, you put a flash somewhere around here, and then when they rush up, you know, kind of peek them with an unexpected kind of like really deep peek. Like here, I think a wall like this could be really good. Playing maybe backside B, flash, and then swinging off that. And the ults, you know, they're okay. The difference between a Killjoy ult is that, you know, you're gonna have time to like prep your attack, but if you try to ult under here, it's not as good. Retaking on A, also not as good. You're gonna have to like push like either all the way up to like this kind of choke to get a lot of good value, or, you know, find some other way to ult. But the issue comes with having to defend all the other choke points across the map. Killjoy, you know, you can put her turret like literally watching here and watching like, you know, very like deep into this arcade area, or and like also watch them push main. You can also put a turret like right here, and, you know, I think, yeah, you could do something like that. But with Vyse, you really only have the power to hold like one choke very solidly, and you can only kind of stall with as much utility as you can. Your Razor Vines are strong, but they're not gonna like stop a split as well as some people think it will. Haven. I think Haven is a B tier map for Vyse. With the games that I've played on Haven, Vyse is just like okay on it, because garage control becomes a pretty big problem. Without that passive utility to hold garage, you're leaving a lot up to like if the enemies may or may not push it, and you're gonna have to kind of play around the kind of holding garage area a little bit, or you're gonna have to just play on A and play hard anchor A, which isn't bad. Like, let's suppose I'm Vyse and I wanted to play A. I have a lot of options for my wall. I can put one right here and put my flash high up, like next to heaven, or I can put it like in this little box over here. I don't think they can quite see it if they walked, and you can kind of swing off that wall. Or, you know, some people, I've done this myself also, is that you can put a wall right here, and then when they trip it, you know, flash up high on the right, on the left, and then swing right here. It is kind of weird and awkward, but you can make it work. I've also done things like pushed up when the barriers go up, and they will see the wall, but they won't see the flash, and they probably won't expect you to be playing off a flash and swinging here, which is pretty solid. You have a lot of options, is what I'm saying, to push A and get some success out of it. Or, sorry, not push A, but like set up A and get some success out of holding A. Another way, you know, you can play on Haven is kind of playing off a garage setup. So if they smoke you off garage window and they trip your wall, you can like jump out with the flash and then swing and kill them. Your ult's pretty solid when you want to push C. You can kind of get this whole area if you just push out the choke a little bit. Or, you know, you can do it a little safer, just kind of like on the side over here. On A, it's like a Killjoy ult, so again, you can kind of even push up to this short area and get hell too, which a Killjoy ult can't do. Which is why kind of Vyse ult's kind of better for that. Another setup that I love doing on Haven, this is probably one of my favorite setups in the game. Even if it's not on her like best map, still one of my favorite setups is that I usually like to play logs. I can play on plat or back sight, and, you know, I'll just flash and peek off this wall right here because it's so extended from the main choke of long. You'd think that you'd scale long, and usually if you're like an enemy, you don't want to sit in this area right here. It's a very like dangerous area to sit in for a while, so you'll be wanting to push up or push back, and if you push up, you'll be hitting my wall. Now, with all that said, Vyse does have a problem on Haven that's similar to a couple of other maps that she has, like Blind, for example, is that there are a lot of choke points. There are more than one choke point for C. There's more than one choke point for A. There's a lot of things that your team needs to passively watch because it's a very attacker-sided map. So playing Vyse and holding one choke point can be beneficial. You need to rely on your teammates a lot to hold the other choke points, which just sometimes doesn't happen in ranked. So Haven isn't one of the greatest maps for Vyse, and I think that it's just an issue with having too many choke points to hold. Icebox. Icebox is also another map that's just gonna go in the just use Killjoy tier, and I don't really feel like I need to explain why, but just in case you live under a rock, Icebox is like the most annoying map to hold as defenders, all because of this mid area. Now, if you can get mid control consistently and you can place a wall like right here, like aggressively, you can pretty much take care of that mid pressure. But a Killjoy turret watches it better 100%. I mean, having this constant knowing whether or not they're pushing like mid, watching through the tube, watching under tube, like all this stuff is just so much easier than having to like find some sort of counter strat to like throw this wall up here. Another map that we have coming up here that I also think is just not great for Vyse is Lotus. Your walls can't be very creative. Like you have to put them mostly in the choke points. There's a couple of walls you can do that are interesting. Like, putting a wall right here and a flash, it's pretty basic, but it can work. It can work. I also like to put a razor vine like right here. It makes it stop them from like pushing out this lane area, kind of makes pushing to your setup better. Another wall you can place is, obviously the B choke. Like, there's a wall you can do like right here that's pretty good. And then you can combo with like a razor vine so they don't push stairs and they push more into your setup. There's a wall you can also do in tree that kind of works also. You can kind of put a flash right here, and if they push up, you can like swing off it into tree, block them off. But overall, yeah, this map has the same problem as kind of Bind, where there's a lot of like areas that they're gonna like be pushing, like a lobby. A is mostly the problem here. If A wasn't a site on this map, this would be like an S tier map for Vyse. But as it kind of stands, Vyse isn't very good because just being a sentinel on Lotus already sucks a lot. Because most of the time they can bum rush past it if they're brute forcing enough. But trying to play Vyse and like balance all these choke points on A if you're having struggle holding A, or trying to find a wall that they don't just like jump spot every round like you can try to on C, that it's really hard to. And of course you don't have any B like control at all, that you always have to worry about someone lurking up B. There's just a lot of different problems. It's just best to maybe not play Vyse. The only kind of good thing on Lotus for Vyse that's not finicky is like her ults are pretty solid. You can get most of A here, but it's kind of hard to. You'll want to take tree control, so make sure that no one has a gun. Bad thing is they can flood drop and then peek you them, like they can peek you with their rifles out. On B, it's really solid. You can kind of use it there. And on C, it's not bad either. Not trolling to play Vyse on Lotus, but there are better options. And I don't think Vyse is the best Sentinel to use on Lotus, but she's not horrible. Alright, this is the map I've kind of wanted to talk about the most. Pearl. I have to give like an A tier. And here's kind of why. Because setting up on Pearl is like so beneficial on Vyse. There's a lot of freedom you have on both sides when you're holding the main choke. And even if you're like need to hold mid for whatever reason, you also have a lot of freedom there. So let's start with B, for example. B, you obviously can put a flat, like the barriers are like up here. So you can place a wall pretty far out and place your flash, and you have a pretty solid way to flash peek literally the entirety of long. And actually, you probably want to put it more up here just in case the people on this ramp are looking. But if they're not playing anti-flash, you can get a pretty good sneaky kill like right here. And of course, you know, you might have your teammates holding mid and stuff. If you maybe need to hold art more because they keep pushing art, you know, you'll have some freedom there with a wall and a flash. Kind of comboing this, like this. Flashing and the wall's tall enough to stop them from even jump spotting you. The issue here kind of lies with this. I mean, you can put a wall like maybe right here, and then put your flash here, and then maybe swing like his, like so. But you know, kind of dangerous. Mid is mostly the issue here, but it's not like this mid door spot is hard to hold or anything, and neither is art. So if you have your like teammate holding those spaces, your A setups are also very solid. Like, you know, playing back sight with a flash maybe on top here or on this little box, swinging like this, or you can get kind of cringy with it, putting a wall like right here, kind of just playing in this drop area, and when they trip it and they're stuck here, you can Odin spam here and get a kill. I mean, there's a lot of creative freedom that you have on Pearl, enough that I could say that you are actually really good if you want to play Vyse on Pearl. So yeah, you have a lot of freedom to just kind of play off your really creative setups, and I think it's pretty much safe to say that this is one of the better maps for Vyse. So that's why they kind of go into the A tier. Pearl, I'm honestly gonna have to give like an A tier. And here's kind of why. Because setting up on Pearl is like so beneficial on Vyse. There's a lot of freedom you have on both sides when you're holding the main choke. And even if you're like need to hold mid for whatever reason, you also have a lot of freedom there. So let's start with B, for example. B, you know, you obviously can put a flat, like the barriers are like up here. So you can place a wall pretty far out and place your flash, and you have a pretty solid way to flash peek literally the entirety of long. And actually, you probably want to put it more up here just in case the people on this ramp are looking. But if they're not playing anti-flash, you can get a pretty good sneaky kill like right here. And of course, you know, you might have your teammates holding mid and stuff. If you maybe need to hold art more because they keep pushing art, you know, you'll have some freedom there with a wall and a flash. Kind of comboing this, like this. Flashing and the wall's tall enough to stop them from even jump spotting you. The issue here kind of lies with this. I mean, you can put a wall like maybe right here, and then put your flash here, and then maybe swing like his, like so. But you know, kind of dangerous. Mid is mostly the issue here, but it's not like this mid door spot is hard to hold or anything, and neither is art. So if you have your like teammate holding those spaces, your A setups are also very solid. Like, you know, playing back sight with a flash maybe on top here or on this little box, swinging like this, or you can get kind of cringy with it, putting a wall like right here, kind of just playing in this drop area, and when they trip it and they're stuck here, you can Odin spam here and get a kill. I mean, there's a lot of creative freedom that you have on Pearl, enough that I could say that you are actually really good if you want to play Vyse on Pearl. And the Vyse ults on Pearl are also really good. They're like Killjoy ults again. So you can ult right here, or kind of like pass a choke a little bit, make sure they don't have the guns. Or you can even use it on post plant really solidly, like right here or even right here. Using it, this one on attack again, you can kind of even push up a little bit more, ult heaven and back B too, really easily. On retaking, you can also use it like right here, like a Killjoy ult spot, super good. And then retaking on A, like you can even get up here to this drop point, or if you're holding A, you can get up here, you can, I mean, there's just so many good options. Split is alright for Vyse. I don't think they're like awful on Split, but there are some issues that I think are more glaring than most other maps. So here on Split, I think B would be the best setups to use for Vyse, because, you know, you can kind of put, you know, your wall here on this choke, and then, you know, flash it. Maybe put a Razor Vine here, and pop it when they, like, try to go out through, so they'll have to, like, face your flash. The only real issue that I see is this mid choke is so important to hold mid on split. So having no way to like hold mid unless you force like you use your wall like right here off the start of the round, it could be pretty difficult. Like say this was like a killjoy turret or something holding mid or something else. You just don't have that kind of creative like freedom that you might need to use for a site execute. On A, she's okay, but the only like you can't hold ramps and main at the same time unless you have your teammate kind of call so you can use your thorns up here. Using your flash over here, kind of peeking with that. That's always going to be good. Or you can, actually there's a cringy wall you can do right here. Like up all the way up there, and then putting your flash right here and swinging off screen. She's good. She's really good. But is she the best? I don't think she's the absolute greatest. This Cypher trip, like in mid, that pros like to use, that's really solid over here. Like, this is almost indispensable. I mean, having a one-way trip like this, it's just so crazy good. But yeah, that's really the only issues that I see. It's pretty much just what it is, Vyse isn't going to be the greatest on all maps. And Vyse isn't like 100% the best on split, but she's not bad at all. Vyse ult isn't as good as it usually is on split. I mean, you can get the sights, but the issue will be when they kind of retake through and come back through, they can just have their guns back again. Like on B, it's the same issue, and actually there's a whole back sight, which you don't want when you're using Vyse ult, because unlike Killjoy ult, if they run away from your ult and then come back in, and there's people still like that got caught by it, it's not like a Killjoy ult where you're like, well, okay, it's still like a 1 versus 5 or whatever. It's like it's really difficult to fight with someone who has a rifle and 2 people that have pistols. So, and like they know that you're pushing it, which is bad. When retaking your Vyse ult, it's okay. If you get this back B space, it's pretty good. And if you, find a way to jump out heaven with it, it's also pretty solid. But again, not Vyse's best map. Finally, we go to Sunset. People think Sunset is like a strictly Cypher map. I'm gonna go up here and just say that I think Vyse might actually be S tier on Sunset. Not as good as on Abyss, but on Sunset for sure. And let me show you why real quick.
Hey, so this video was actually made before the sunset changes, so Vyse might actually drop a little bit on Sunset. I don't think she's like C tier or below, but she's definitely not S tier anymore.
Playing on A is also pretty solid. If you wanted to play it safe, you can have your wall like right here, play off a flash back here, swing off that. Sometimes I like to get a little risque and run up and put my wall right here with my flash on the floor on the side of the wall, and then when they trip it, I can flash and have this kind of this elbow control. And if I feel even more confident and my team might be fighting the main side, I can like hold the crossfire with them. That's pretty solid too. Look, you can put your flash high like up here by placing your wall right here. That's indestructible, by the way. You can't break this. And then when they trip it, you can flash and then you can peek with them flashed here on the wall. That's just crazy. The ults on B is phenomenal. If you can even get up here, that's like insane. The ults on A are really good, attack and defense. You can kind of rush with an ult right here, or ult right here on this side of the site to like clear almost the entire site for yourself. And yeah, that's pretty much why Sunset is one of Vyse's best maps. It's just really hard to push Vyse on Sunset. And after the supposed Cypher nerfs, Vyse might actually be the meta on Sunset.